I wanted to find out what it was about, first of all. That's the only way to find out for sure. I'm French, I can read French as well, so I'd enjoy that part of it. Travel through Europe, and I'm really worried about what's going on there.
So you should be, my friend, and so is broadcaster Andrew Lawton. He held a competition on his radio show in London, Ontario, with the prize being copies of the Charlie Hebdo magazine. I like the cut of his jib, and he and his jib are here right now. What did you do, you naughty boy?
Well, look, I mean, the Charlie Hebdo story was something that was covered extensively around the world on your show, on this station, as well as on my show. And when they released their rather defiant post-attack issue in which Mohammed, peace be upon him, of course, is holding a sign that says, "Je suis Charlie," that issue, I think, spoke volumes about the organization, the magazine, but more importantly, I think the stand that people have to take as to whether or not they will submit to fear or whether or not they will stand in the face of fear and continue to do what they were doing before. And for me, it's not a matter of endorsing the magazine. It's a matter of endorsing what that issue specifically represented. So when I had the opportunity to get my hands on a copy, we wanted to have a contest and make sure that our listeners would be able to have an opportunity to take that piece of history, which is really what it is, home.
Is it a first edition printing?
Yeah, it's from the original run.
Which, I mean, they had to print a lot more, but the first run, it's still, I mean, you could have sold that for quite a lot of money, couldn't you?
You know, there are a lot of people trying to sell them online, and they're getting anywhere from $50 to $1,000. It really depends on the day. To me, it's never been about the financial value of the magazine. It's hardly a collector's item in the sense that they've released millions of these things, but especially in North America, they're hard to come by. People have been going to Paris and even at the original retailers that have carried every issue and tried to get them and couldn't. So it was hard to get my hands on.
It's not the money, it's the principle.
Absolutely.
Okay, the direct opposite of me. Now, what was the competition? What was the question? What was the quiz?
Well, we're still actually in the middle of it right now. So every day this week, we only have one issue to give away at this time. We might have something in the future. But
and it started last week?
It started on Friday. So every day this week, what's happening is we're taking one entry of callers to the program, and we're changing it up a bit. We're not trying to make it complex. We're ultimately just trying to make it fun, get instant sort of reaction from people. And then on Friday of this week, we'll have a draw for the issue. And it's been amazing how many people, even people who aren't from London, and maybe they listen to the show online, maybe they don't, but want to get in on this simply because of how hard these things are to come by. And a lot of people, like I mentioned earlier, like what this issue represents.
Has it provoked a discussion about the magazine? I thought the cover they produced there, it wasn't particularly provocative. I mean, it wasn't lacking in respect of Muhammad.
No.
It was simply making, I mean, they've said things inside about all sorts of religious leaders that are incredibly fierce. But I'm completely behind them, completely behind you here, and I'm staggered by what some people have said, some people in influence, Financial Times in England, the Pope, thoughtless comments about not offending. I mean, I'll offend whomever I want. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch me, you don't have to listen to me, you don't have to read me, but you have no right to silence me and no right to kill me. Yeah,
and the problem was you had organizations like CBC and major newspapers in Canada refuse to publish these images. Many of them were out of perhaps a place of safety for their staff. A lot of them were out of a place of fear. I know the Globe and Mail, CBC, it's we don't want to offend this many people. And that was their exact sentiment. They didn't want to offend or hurt the feelings or risk alienating Muslims. And to your point about the picture on the cover of this issue not being particularly offensive to fundamentalist Islamists, any depiction, whether flattering or not, of the prophet or their prophet is supposed to be offensive. So anyone who is prepared to kill over a cartoon, which certainly is not representative of the broader majority, I believe deserves to be mocked.
I would agree with you, and there are conflicting theories, but it seems to me that many Orthodox Muslim scholars would argue that you can depict the Prophet, and it did happen earlier in Islam. But Islam produced much that was beautiful. Now we have fanatics who say nothing beautiful must be produced because it might rival our love for the Quran and for the Prophet Muhammad. But I don't think those things are contradictory. There's much in the Quran that's lyrical and poetic. And if you look at some of the architecture and the poetry, the translations in Islam, particularly in the 13th or 14th century, it's luscious, it's beautiful. This is a tribal, very specific interpretation of Islam. And because of Saudi Arabian money, it's very influential internationally.
Yeah, and as far as lyrics and poetry, not much of that in Charlie Hebdo, I can assure you, having read the magazine.
I know.
But what's interesting about it, though, and this is the point I've been trying to make, is that it's not about the magazine. It's not about the content of the magazine, nor even the quality of it. I mean, there are a lot of, through the pages, very crass images of the French president, Francois Hollande, a lot of very rude images of Jewish people, of the Pope, of numerous other groups. And what's most fascinating about it is that none of these groups were prepared to kill over it, except for one, and that was a subset of Islam. And blood was shed over this. And what was astonishing to me when we launched this contest on Friday was how many people who 2 weeks ago were chanting "Je suis Charlie," "I am Charlie," free speech, are this week calling it racist, offensive, Islamophobic. People who have literally said I should be fired for having this contest, who were speaking in favor of free speech when they were initially attacked. But once the bodies cool down, everyone's all about being politically correct.
Oh, this is great. So they've called for you to be fired.
Yes.
Oh, he's gone too far this time. This is offensive. And the response should be, I can't swear on TV, but I don't care if you're offended. Thank you for sharing. You're offended. You know, big bloody deal. I don't care. People assume that if they say they're offended, one has to change one's lifestyle and approach.
It's as though by invoking that, you've sort of laid down this trump card that someone else must submit to you. But the problem is that we've seen so many people over the course of discussions about Islam over the years and other areas where political correctness has creeped in, where people are so willingly prepared to submit. People are so willingly prepared to censor themselves because of a fear of offense. And that was what I felt was a huge failing of Canadian media, but Western media in general, when it came to people who weren't publishing the cartoons. And that was also one of the reasons that I decided to have this contest is, look, I'm not only prepared to show these images, I'm prepared to actually place them in your hand as a listener. And is there a component of it where obviously you want everyone in the world to listen to the show? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, the symbolism of even having this contest is my stand as a member of the media, as well as a Canadian, that I will not submit. And I've said on my show to anyone who's said, oh, well, aren't you afraid of what might happen? Come and get me. And that's a sentiment that stands.
Well, by the way, come and get, not me, if you want to know where he lives.
Yeah, when I'm in London, not when I'm here.
I'll give you his home address. When are you announcing the Friday? What time?
It'll be on Friday, probably about just before 3 o'clock. The show's from 1 to 3. So
what's the name of the station?
The Andrew Lawton Show on AM 980 in London.
Okay, so they can probably hear it from Toronto as well.
Yeah, it's available online.
And go online, and around 3 o'clock you'll hear the winner, and you couldn't sort of fix it so I get the copy, could you?
No, but you could enter tomorrow and Friday still, Michael. There's still time for you.
I'm washing my hair. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.